Did she go to the gym like on a daily basis?
Yes.
And when you went to the gym, did she introduce you to any of her friends?
I was introduced to one friend there, yeah.
Female, male?
It was a male friend.
Do you remember who that was?
Unfortunately, I do not.
Okay. While you were in town in August of 2016, did the defendant purchase a vehicle?
Yes. Yeah.
And, excuse me. What type of vehicle did she purchase?
She purchased a red Fiat, the larger one. I think it was a Fiat XL. Yeah, when she, I remember this conversation specifically.
Well, let me ask you something.
Sure.
Did you go with her to purchase the vehicle?
I did not go with her to the dealership to purchase the vehicle.
When she came home from the dealership, did she say anything to you?
She came in through the garage from the dealership and said to me that basically she was bragging to me that she had thrown a tantrum in the dealership, screaming and crying, and manipulating everyone in the dealership so that she could get a better rate on the car. And that this was successful and that she got this extra rate.
Okay. And where were you when she came in from the garage? Where were you?
I was in the kitchen.
And was there anything else that was unusual during that trip that you remember? Did the defendant change at all in any way?
Just becoming more fit, becoming more reclusive with gym activities.
Okay.
Spending more time alone, I suppose, yeah. Spending less time out in the backyard like we had in previous years.
The backyard area where there's a covered patio and a pool?
Yep, and where my dad spent most of his time, yep.
Did your dad tend to, when you were there, sit in a particular area in the yard?
Yes, yeah, he sat in that one specific chair, yeah.
Would that be a chair underneath the patio area?
That's right.
The covered patio?
That's correct.
All right.
It was close to the pool.
With his back turned to the pool so that he'd be facing at an angle towards the television?
That's correct.
All right. And is that where you would spend a lot of time with him?
Yes, in one chair over.
Okay. Now, you said prior to the murder you had a close relationship with your sisters, Isabella and Jessica. Mm-hmm. In terms of a close relationship, did you communicate with them separate from your communications, let's say, with your father?
Yeah.
And would that be through their personal cell phones?
Yep, social media, by phone, yeah.
In January of 2016, do you recall what you were doing around that time?
January of 2016?
Sorry, 2017.
Yeah, January 2017, I was in grad school at Brock University. I just finished the first semester and was ready to begin the second semester. And that's when I received the phone call the night of the murder.
Okay. And were you getting a particular degree at that point in time?
Yes, I was working on a master's degree in philosophy.
Okay. So the night of January 23rd of 2017, you said you got a call. Who did you get a call from initially?
My sister Jessica.
Okay. And what was her demeanor when she called?
She was freaking out, said someone killed Dad, and saying, just sort of being hysterical. And then I think what I said, just not taking in information, was let me talk to Dad. And then I think I hung up, she hung up the phone line, that call ended. But then we were again on another phone call, and then the phone was passed around to some other people.
All right. So when the phone call ended, did you call somebody? Did you call your father's line at that point?
I believe I did, because I hung up and then tried my dad's line, no answer, and then I believe I had gotten a call back from Jessica's number, I think was the order of events. But then that second round of conversations begun.
And then did you speak to Jessica briefly before you said the phone got passed around?
I think so, for just a moment, and I think she said, here, gave it to Deborah.
Deborah. Do you know somebody by the name of Deborah?
So Deborah Obad was a neighbor of theirs, and sort of like one of the only family friends from the area, I suppose.
Had you met her when you would come to visit once a year to
Yes.
Los Angeles to visit your dad?
Yes.
Okay. And so you knew who she was?
Mm-hmm.
Is that yes?
Yes.
And
all right, Luigi Sementilli there describing the day that his father was murdered. What did his stepmom have as a reaction to that? We'll talk about that on the other side of this break. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julia Janae. Thank you for following along with us this afternoon as we track several trials across the country here at Court TV. We're in Florida, where the dog park murder trial is underway. Prosecutors there say that Gerald Radford fatally shot a man because he was gay, and they are going to seek a hate crime enhancement if he is convicted. The defendant is claiming self-defense. Also in California, the trial for Monica Sementilli is back underway this afternoon. She's accused of conspiring with her lover to kill her famous hairstylist husband. And also in Florida, we are in a verdict watch. The fate of 17-year-old Colin Griffith is now in the hands of a jury. He faces life in prison if found guilty of fatally stabbing his mother just months after killing his dad. They've been out for 2 hours and 5 minutes. We will, of course, take you there if there is a jury question or a verdict, and we'll keep you updated on all of these trials throughout the day. But for now, let's head back to California, where in Los Angeles, the defendant, Monica Sementilli's son with her husband, Luigi, is on the stand.
did you also speak to the defendant during that same phone call?
Yes.
And did the defendant relay information to you from the defendant?
Can you repeat that one more time?
Sure. Did Deborah relay information to you from the defendant, your stepmom?
Yes.
And what, if anything, did she say to you from the defendant?
Objection, calls for speculation, no foundation.
Oh, there.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So when Deborah came on the phone with me, she said to me, Monica's freaking out about money, worried that they're not going to have money, and that there's money coming to me, and so that I would help them with the money that I was to receive because they need the help.
So one of the first things that was said to you was that Monica was freaking out about money and that money was coming to you.
And that I was to get money, therefore, the presumption was that I was going to give them money to help.
When you say the presumption, you're saying Deborah and Monica said that you would give Monica money?
Yeah, Deborah was like, don't worry, he'll give it to you, basically very presumptuously. And
She's talking to Monica as she's on the phone with you?
And then relaying it to me and saying, you know, you got to help them out. They're going to need help with money, this, that, and the other.
Okay. And then did you, in fact, the phone get passed to the defendant so you could speak with your stepmother?
Yes.
And what, if anything, did she say to you?
As soon as the phone was passed to Monica and we spoke for the first time after the murder, the first words out of her mouth were regarding life insurance money.
What did she say specifically, if you recall?
Yep, she says, there's money coming to you, your dad took care of you, there's money coming to you, you'll be able to buy a house, you'll be able to buy a car. Yeah, that was the topic of conversation.
Did she say anything to you about there being a life insurance policy?
Yes.
And what did she say about that?
That you have money coming to you from life insurance, you'll be able to buy a house, you'll be able to buy a car. Your dad took care of you with these things that will now be paid out.
And did she specifically say to you that there was a hefty life insurance policy?
Objection, leading.
Big, yes. Lots of life insurance was up for grabs here. That was the message that was given.
Okay. But do you recall using the words when you spoke with detectives previously that the words she used, the defendant, was that there was a hefty life insurance policy?
Yes.
Okay. And at the point in time when the defendant said to you, there's money coming to you, your dad took care of you, you can buy a house or you can buy a car. Did you know anything about what she was speaking?
No, I had no idea about any of this. No.
So you did not know anything about, you had not had prior conversations with your father about any type of policy
Nope.
regarding you as a beneficiary?
No, none of the policies, not even the one, set up with the divorce from my mom. I didn't even know about that one. So, no, I didn't know about any of that.
Your mother had never told you about such a policy either?
No.
Was that a policy that you subsequently to your father's murder learned was through a company in Canada called Manulife?
That's correct, and it was set up according to the Canadian law with regards to divorce settlements. It had to be set up at the time, and then, of course, this being a long time ago, no reason for me to think about it. My dad's alive and healthy, and then I learned about it. Yeah.
Okay. Now, did, other than talking about this significant amount of money that was coming your way, did the defendant talk to you that night about anything else other than life insurance? Or was that the only topic she spoke about?
Objection, this states the evidence.
The night of the murder,
Yes.
that was the only topic of conversation.
And this was a conversation that you had with the defendant within perhaps an hour, a couple hours of your dad's murder?
An hour, yeah. Yeah, a couple of hours would probably be generous, yeah.
What was your state of mind at that point in time?
Completely in shock, reduced to bafflement. Don't know what's real anymore. Trying to just keep my feet beneath me. Trying to figure out, just then think more logistically. What are the next few days going to look like? And then, it's one of those moments where your life changes in a moment, and you don't really know how to deal with it. So,
Where were you when you got this call?
it was in my basement apartment that I was renting at school. Yeah.
And as the defendant was talking to you about the fact that there's this hefty life insurance policy that your father had set up for you, was she crying as she was speaking here?
No tears. I did hear some, exacerbated breathing going on.
Like you didn't hear her crying, but you heard breathing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What kind of exacerbated breathing?
Like a kind of hyperventilating going on.
Okay.
Yeah. But the words in the message were very clear and coming out between each voice. Yeah.
You mean between Jessica's voice, between Deborah's voice, and between your stepmother's voice?
Between the hyperventilations,
I see.
everything was very clearly communicated, and yeah.
So in other words, you could understand what your stepmother was saying to you clearly.
Oh yes.
And subsequent to that, did you have phone calls with your other family in Canada?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. And did you and other members of your family fly down to the Los Angeles area on Wednesday? That would have been January 25th of 2017?
Yep.
And while you were in Los Angeles, were you staying again at your father's home, or were you staying elsewhere, if you recall?
Yeah, so that was kind of a point of contention. I was thinking about where am I going to stay. I assumed everyone was just going to be staying at hotels. Surprised to hear that that wasn't the case, and that the defendant and I believe even my stepsisters were still staying at the house. I stayed in a hotel.
Okay.
Yeah.
During the day, did you and your family come over every day to your father's home? What was your father's home on Queen Victoria?
That's correct.
The defendant and the girls were staying in the home?
That's correct.
During that period of time while you were in Los Angeles with family after your father's death, did you attend a a viewing that took place at a funeral home,
Yes.
and that would have been January 29th.
I believe so.
And subsequent to that, some type of a wake or a memorial or a gathering in the backyard that night.
Yes.
And while you were in town that week, did the defendant do anything that was unusual that you found to be unusual?
Objection, relevance, calls for speculation.
She give you anything?
Yeah, so when I showed up to the Queen Victoria house, first time coming and seeing Monica in person since the murder, she hands me the Rolex watch that my dad was wearing when he was killed. She also asked me to go through and take anything from the wardrobe or like his stuff.
You mean like his clothing?
Clothing and basically anything. Just kind of brought me through the walk-in closet and said, take whatever you want.
She escorted you into the master bedroom walk-in closet?
Mm-hmm.
Is that yes?
Yes, that's yes.
And told you to take anything you wanted?
Correct.
Okay. At some point during your stay in Los Angeles, while you and your family were there, did that include, by the way, your aunts Loretta and Morella?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And your uncle Marco?
Yes.
And some of your cousins?
Yes. Yep.
Did, at any point in time, did the defendant ask you to come upstairs?
Yes.
And where upstairs did she ask you to follow her to?
It was that computer room where I previously tested that I would sleep in that room because there was like a bed off to the side.
Okay. In Exhibit 74, to the left of the photograph, on the left, there are some beds set up. Is that right?
Oh yeah, you can see the bed in the corner there. Yeah.
With the white, looks like maybe turquoise and brown or black pattern on it?
That's it.
Okay, it looks like there's a red number 2 in the left-hand corner.
Mm-hmm.
She called you up into the family room. She asked you to sit down on the couch, or what was the purpose of this?
No, so she brought me up to the computer area because you can see on the right there, next to the monitor is a printer, and then that printer is where it was printed out. This document that was the reason for me being brought up to be shown this document, and the document was a table showing the beneficiaries of the estate and all of the different sources of life insurance that would be due to be paid to each beneficiary and in what percentages.
Your Honor, I have a document that appears to be a ledger of sorts regarding beneficiaries of a life insurance policy, along with other stock options, profit shares, things of that nature. May it be marked as People 75?
Yes.
Showing you People 75. Do you recognize this document here?
I sure do.
Okay. And was a version of this document at that time showed to you by the defendant?
Yes.
Your
Well,
Honor, we would object. The vaguest version and identification of the witness, I think we should be precise.
Well,
An objection there by the defense to these documents. This testimony by Luigi is so important to the prosecution because they say life insurance was the reason for the murder, but the defense says that Monica Sementelli didn't know about life insurance and how much could have come to her in the event of her husband's death.